Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. So with the unique advantage of being a content creator, I am able to indulge in the act of burning hundreds of dollars so you don't have to. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the penultimate Shrine Maiden, Yae Miko's Constellations. This video will be broken down into a couple different sections. The first section will take a look at how much power Yae Miko gains from each of her constellations, and at the end of the video, I will have a showcase as well as my advice in terms of her constellations. Starting off, we need to familiarize ourselves with my Yae Miko and the testing methodology. Here are her stats, and she is starting off with a Refinement 1 Kagura's Verity. She has the 2-piece Gladiators and 2-piece Shimenawas. And her talents are at 666 throughout this entire video. Sometimes I use some crit rate food to push her crit rate over 100% to reduce the RNG. Starting off with our Constellation 0 Yae Miko, her E-ticks are doing a modest 8,709 damage each. This is enough to do a good amount of damage to our poor plant volunteer, but not quite enough to take it out in time. At Constellation 0, her burst is doing 23,319 damage per Tenko Thunderbolt. Now I will be using my patented slime rating system, with 5 slimes being the best rating. Yae at Constellation 0 easily deserves a 5 slime out of 5 slime rating for her fluffy ears and fluffy tails. Now Yae's Constellation 1 does nothing to boost her damage, and instead refunds 8 energy per Tenko Thunderbolt. Since you pretty much always use 3 totems before her burst, you will get 24 energy back from her Constellation 1. This reduces her burst's energy cost down to 66, from the original energy cost of 90, which is a 26.7% energy cost reduction. This is a great quality of life improvement for Yae, especially at earlier constellations where her burst makes up a much larger percent of her overall damage. I'm giving this one a 3.5 slime rating out of 5 slimes. Next we have Yae's Constellation 2, which increases the quote-unquote level of the totems by 1. This is not the actual talent level, but instead the totem level, which is a special level just for Yae's totems. It also increases the range of her totems by a massive 60%. The damage went from 8,709 all the way up to 10,887. This is a massive 25% increase to her totem damage. As for the range increase, it certainly feels like much more than a 60% range increase. Now it's worth noting that the tether distance to tether the totems to each other and thus increase their quote-unquote totem level, this range does not appear to have increased. This 60% increase is only to the attack range. At Constellation 2, Yae effectively has a 66 energy cost burst, 60% more range on her elemental skill, and 25% more elemental skill damage. This constellation absolutely deserves a 5 slime out of 5 slime rating. Now it's time to plug Constellation 3 into Yae. This is a simple plus 3 levels to her elemental skill, and now her elemental skill is doing 13,220 damage, which is a 21% increase from Constellation 2. Since this is a nice upgrade to the core component of her kit, I'm going to give this a 4.5 slime rating out of 5 slimes. So at Constellation 3, Yae effectively has a 66 cost burst, 60% more range on her elemental skill, and now her totems are doing 52% more damage when compared to a Constellation 0 Yae Miko. Constellation 4 is next, and it provides a 20% electro damage bonus to the entire team once one of her totems hits an enemy. We can see here that the first hit did not do increased damage, but all the subsequent totem zaps are now doing 14,487 damage. This is a comparatively modest 10% increase to my current Yae Miko's build. Now it's worth noting that different builds will see significantly different amounts of damage gain from this constellation. Also, this provides every character in the party 20% additional electro damage. If we use Yae's elemental burst after her Constellation 4 activates, now her burst is doing 26,260 damage per Tenko Thunderbolt. This is a 13% increase to my Yae Miko's burst damage. I'm going to give this constellation a 3 slime out of 5 slime rating. So at Constellation 4, in total she has a 66 energy cost burst, 60% more range on her totems, 66% additional damage on her totems, 13% additional damage on her elemental burst, and finally she provides 20% electro damage to the entire party. Constellation 5 is one of those simple constellations, and this one simply boosts her burst's talent level by 3. Now her Tenko Thunderbolts are doing 31,887 damage, which is a 21% increase from her Constellation 4. I'm personally going to give Constellation 5 a 3 out of 5 slime rating. And last but certainly not the least, we have Constellation 6. Constellation 6 ignores 60% of the monster's defense for her elemental skill. Just to clarify, this does not affect her elemental burst damage. As we can see here, her elemental burst is still doing 31,887 damage. However, her Constellation 6 does indeed affect her skill damage, catapulting it to 20,766 damage per zap. This is a massive 43% increase from her constellations 4 through 5, and through her constellations alone, Yae's elemental skill is now doing 238% of her Constellation 0 counterpart. Yae's Constellation 6 easily deserves a 5 slime out of 5 slime rating. And before wrapping up this video, we are going to also bring our Kagura's Verity to Refinement 5. This boosts her totem zap damage to 25,126 damage each, which is another 21% increase from just Constellation 6 Refinement 1. And finally, this boosts her elemental burst by a rather modest 7%. So in total, at Constellation 6 and Refinement 5, when compared to a Constellation 0, Refinement 1 Yae Miko, she has a 66 energy cost burst, and her totems now have 60% additional range. She provides the entire party 20% electro damage, and her burst is doing a total of 46% more damage. And finally, her elemental skill does a whopping 289% of a Constellation 0 Refinement 1 Yae Miko. By now, I'm sure most of the community is used to the power gap between a Constellation 6 Refinement 5 Yae Miko and a Constellation 0 Free-to-Play or Refinement 1 Yae Miko. And in my opinion, Constellation 0 Yae Miko is still a perfectly usable character that opens up a new and fun playstyle. Now, despite all the benefits that I rattled off in the previous list, the main benefit at Constellation 6 honestly is her elemental skill doing nearly 3 times the amount of damage. This ends up turning her into a sub-DPS monster, as her ticks are able to reliably hit over 100,000 damage in a hyper carry Yae Miko team. And keep in mind that my Yae Miko's talents are at a base level of 6 or 699 after Constellation 6. While it's way too early to say how good she is in comparison to the other top tier characters at Constellation 6 and Refinement 5, Yae Miko is looking to be an interesting choice for whales and speedrunners alike. It will take some time for the community to realize her potential, so making any premature conclusions on her performance thus far should always be taken with a giant grain of salt. And especially so in Yae's case, since her talents are going to be at a comparatively low level for a few more weeks. Now, if I were to be completely honest and compare her constellations to, let's say, Raiden's constellations, getting Raiden up to Constellation 3 will nearly double her damage in comparison to Yae's, which increases her damage by about 50%. Also, getting Constellation 2 on Kazuha is likely to be much more universal and valuable for your account as a whole. Despite all that, Yae Miko does have some very valuable early constellations, especially Constellation 2. And if you're a sucker for fluffy tales, then all the power to you. Let me know what you think about Yae's constellations and how far you took her. Finally, let me know if you'd like to see a video of me comparing many of Yae's weapon options. Also, I regularly make Genshin Impact videos ranging from Caesar showcases, DPS showdowns, guide videos, and more. So be sure to smash that subscribe button, as it's the best and easiest way for you to support my work. Also, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment for the YouTube algorithm. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.
Yeah?